I could have gone to a yoga class with my back. I could have done stretches all day to get rid of the tension. I could have gone into the gym and lift heavy weights in order to improve my posture, and I will still do these things. But there was an underlying emotional relation to that, and doing the work means questioning one level deeper.
And this is what you learn. This is a skill that you can improve all your life. But this is an amazing tool, parts work, to learn this skill and to grow up, to be mature, and to give space for your emotions that are present in your system and might be repressed. Welcome to the Spiritual Bypassers podcast today with Tim and me, Jannick. And Tim will explain in the beginning of the podcast why that is. And today we had a really exciting episode. We actually went a lot deeper than last time into parts work, how this helps you resolve your conflicts, your challenges that you currently have in your life. It's just such a powerful tool to resolve really anything that is going on in your life. Anything can be met with parts work, and you will have a way to deal with that and to change your perspective on that, which is really what drives change. And not only that, of course, we didn't just, talk about theory. We actually did the work. So I gave a parts work session to Tim, and you can follow along all the way. There's so much to learn from this. It was very skillfully done, both by Tim investigating in his own parts, also by me kind of like navigating the whole scene. So it's a great example for you to learn more about it and to do and improve your own practice. So enjoy, have a lot of fun. We did too, and see you on the other side.
Welcome to a new episode of the Spiritual Bypassers podcast. What is going on? Ashley is not with us today. Ashley is hanging out with her dad on Mallorca. Jannick is also on Mallorca, and they will hang out together. Jannick, are you actually meeting Ashley's dad? Is that a thing?
I don't think so. But yes, we're here together on Mallorca. I took the time to record this podcast with you today, Tim. This is how much I appreciate you.
Wow.
And Ashley prioritized her dad. To be fair, my dad is not here, so I might have done that as well if he was. But like this, it's an amazing opportunity for the two of us to connect in this episode. And I feel like it's going to be an intimate one.
It's going to be intimate because we are continuing on the theme of last week's episode, which was parts work. And everyone that listened to the last episode is kind of knowing what we talk about because we went into a process with Ashley, a brief process. It wasn't a process that went into too much depth, still was very powerful. And we thought we create another episode for you to experience what parts work and emotional release work looks like, to get a feeling for it and to dive into the experience with the two of us. So at the end of the episode, you will have a feel for how the different parts of you function, and you will have a like a clear overview that helps you working with your own parts. So it's all about when you're stuck, parts work is helping you, and emotional work is helping you to get unstuck. And being stuck can mean anything. Can mean you have a conflict that didn't find a resolution yet. It could mean that you have life challenges that you find overwhelming. It could be physical pain. It could be illness. It could be any of the depth of life that we meet as human beings and that overwhelm us in different ways. And parts work is helping with that. So that's what we're going to look at today.
Exactly, yeah. And I want to in the beginning, I want to give a little bit of context again. So it's very easy to just dive into parts work. It's very easy to understand it because it's very practical. It's very close to our real experience of like, oh yeah, I have a part in me that says this, and I have a part in me that says that, and they don't like each other. So it's very natural to get into the process. So we could probably just like jump right in, and you guys could follow along and really make sense of the things that are happening. And it can be really nice to have a little bit of context what's actually happening and why this is so helpful. And the root cause for all conflict, you could say, in parts work is that there's two parts and you are identified with one of them. And this part that you are identified with doesn't like another part, or that other part doesn't like the part that you are identified with. And so that creates a problem because that's a split. That's like, damn, there's no solution to it because I can't be both. I need to be one or the other. So there's a conflict.
Yes.
And these parts, again, they want to be met with compassion and they want to be met with understanding and softness and gentleness. And usually that's not what we do when we identify it. There's an inner fight going on. It's not, you're not working as a team, you're working one against the other or one against many or many against one in your own system. And it's a constant cycle, it's a constant loop, and you don't know how to get out of it. You think one thing, then you think the other thing. Is like, I should rest more. No, I should work more. No, I should rest more. You didn't rest. No, I should work more. I need to make money. And it's just this constant conflict, and there doesn't seem to be a solution to it. And so what we want to do is we want to disidentify from the parts and we want to connect to the self, the observing, wonderful presence that is here with us and that has the power to heal us. And then from that point, we want to witness these parts. And sometimes these parts come from childhood. And what they do or what they bring to the table and what they bring into presence is a lot of unfelt emotions, emotions that want to be felt but are not allowed to be felt. And that can resolve conflicts. And that is basically what healing is as well. It's becoming conscious and bringing into the light all the different emotions that you once had to feel, wanted to feel, but couldn't feel. So now is the time to meet them, these parts, with compassion and to allow them to let go of their strategy that might be not very helpful, might be childish, might be not according to the grown-up man or woman that you are today. It's parts that still live in the parts. They are caught in the past because they weren't able to process and feel through and express the emotions that they wanted to and that they had to back then because it wasn't safe enough. So what we are doing is we're creating a safe container for these parts to be met and to be expressed and to be felt. And we meet them with compassion, and that resolves the conflicts because they can let go of the strategy of hating another part, and you can let go of the identification with it and allow a lot of parts to be here or to be online, to be present with you at the same time. And this is maturing. Growing up and maturing means being able to hold multiple perspectives that seemingly contradict each other at the same time. And this is what you learn. This is a skill that you can improve all your life. But this is an amazing tool, parts work, to learn this skill and to grow up, to be mature, and to give space for your emotions that are present in your system and might be repressed. So that's just a little bit of context before we get started with the action.
You nailed it. Oh my God, what was that? The cheeky smile returns. Well granted. That you explained it really masterfully, in my opinion.
Thank you.
There's very little I want to add to that. There is two things I want to empathize though, like things that I also think are like really the key points, and that is just like you said, to me, it was life-changing to be able to hold contradictions, to
Yeah.
hold that there's, on the one hand, a part that wants the one thing, and on the other hand, a part that wants the polar opposite of that. And to be able to become a viewer of that and to just give in to these two, give in to the tension that results in this conflict and to sit with it and to be curious about it. And then to have in Jungian psychology, it's a third that is emerging. So there's two parts that are in conflict with each other, two energies that contradict each other. And you're not saying you are right or you are right. It's more like you get in a you engage in a conversation with both of them, and then a third solution. That's actually what's called the sacred union of opposites. There's a third solution being born of, for example, the feminine or the masculine or the activity and the need for rest, whatever. There's a third thing that is being born out of that. And the third thing is something in my experience that I can't think my way into. It's sort of mysterious. And that's why when I experience tension, and also that's what the work with my clients always shows, is that if I already had the solution, then I wouldn't have the tension. So it's like I can look for the tension, look for the solution in either one or the other part, but
Yes.
that's not the resolution of the tension. I have to sit in it and I have to give in to the mystery and I have to be curious. And curiosity, for that matter, is really a humble stance, a humble way of seeing things that is like, I actually have no idea what the solution is, but I'm willing to find out. I'm willing to let myself be surprised. And that's to me, the core thing, because most of the new ways of seeing things, the new perspectives, the new impulses that arise from parts work are really surprising. It's like, whoa, I didn't even think about that in the first place. That's pretty amazing. And it makes total sense because if these solutions, if these emotions, if these energies are stored away behind a door that is locked, then of course I have no access to them. And in the conversation with the parts, it's like the door is slowly opening and the solution is coming to us. Just like you said, we are creating a container for the energy to flow again. And when the energy flows, when Ashley is doing anger work, when the anger is released and the tension is allowed and the flow of the emotion is allowed, then the solutions or the new perspective, whatever, come by themselves. It's more like we are creating a vessel that is able to receive rather than proactively create something. And that is also my second point, is that I find mind bending that I am receptive to the messages of my parts. It's not like I'm making up stuff. It's really like this mysterious thing of there's autonomous figures that are in my head, that are coming from my subconscious, that are mediating my unconscious needs, my unconscious emotions, my repressed emotions, and that are actually communicating to me. And I am a recipient of that. It's not that I'm making things up. And this is like the key stance, the key way of relating to your inner system. It's like you are not trying to come up with an answer, you let the answer come to you. And how you do that is you simply ask. You really simply ask and you see what comes up. And what comes up afterwards can be an emotion, can be a sentence, can be an image, can be a symbol, can be an impulse to move. And the key is to learn to trust that, to decipher the language of these unconscious responses that have so many facets. And this is a matter of practice. And we're convinced after, doing numerous trainings that the best way to integrate that and to learn that is through experiencing other people going through the process. Like to be really like, okay, now it clicked. And our hope is with this episode and with this podcast in general, that you expand your capability of holding yourself and creating the vessel that we talked about, the vessel of compassion, the vessel of curiosity, and essentially the vessel of self-love. So the parts in you that never felt safe feel safer, maybe with every episode, but at least we're giving you, the tools or the perspectives or the way of seeing your psyche that is helping you achieving these energies and the safety.
Yeah, that was beautifully said. And the last thing I want to add is all of this is non-pathologizing. We don't assume that something is wrong with us. We are curious, innocent detectives that are just like looking to make things come into the presence of consciousness. And this attitude is also what makes us feel safe when we investigate, because we are not investigating from a perfectionist. That's just a part. That's just us being identified with a part and being like, where do I need to heal? Where can I find the hidden goal so that I become a better entrepreneur, worker, lover, friend, whatever it is, or just happier? No, we are just here curious to see what shows up. And there's no right or wrong in any of this. It's just an investigation. Of course, skillful investigation. Of course, I will not allow Tim to bullshit me and to like come up with protectors that don't allow me to go deeper. And since I've been doing this work for a long time now, I kind of detect these, and you can learn to detect these in yourself as well. But it's not coming from a place of wanting to change anything. It's just coming from a place of wanting more information. What is there more? What more is there in the darkness that can be brought to the light? I don't need anything else from Tim. I don't need him to change in any way or realize something about himself. I just want more information that's already there to come up. That's it.
Yes, yes. In fact, the need or the necessity for change sometimes can be a powerful driver. But if there's clinginess and a feeling of, I need you to change so I can feel good about myself, talking to a part, if I'm approaching a part and I'm like, no, like you need to be different, definitely, because I feel like I'm suffering, then it's definitely a part speaking. The self that we talk about, this center piece, this it's almost like the sun that the parts are revolving around, that is spending warmth and spending daylight and is giving structure to the parts, is never needy. And that's also like a key theme, to be able to differentiate between when is a part coming up and when am I connected to to self, actually, to that vessel, to that curiosity, to that, also the qualities that we talked about in the last episode, compassion and so forth. And that's always a spectrum. And what we are offering is a way of, from the suffering, from the identification with a certain part that is protective, sliding or slowly, fluidly moving towards the self. And to move between this spectrum and not to judge yourself, because that's another part when you're activated, not to be like, oh, fuck, now I'm dysregulated again. I need to regulate my nervous system now. And oh my God, I'm such a bad spiritual person. Where's my personal development going? Blah, blah, blah. That's just the part speaking. And what this work offers is a more lasting centeredness that is independent of your state. You can feel any, like, imagine being able to feel any emotion and being at peace with it. And this is such an amazing gift, because so many people on their spiritual and healing journey are like searching for the high, searching for the bliss. And we talk about this a lot, the shadow of New Age spirituality. And what this offers is just a centeredness that goes beyond feeling of bliss, because the self is not necessarily marked by happiness. It's not like you're jumping and you're feeling good all day long. It's marked by compassion and curiosity. And that can also mean that you feel like when you're connected to self, for example, and you encounter a part that is grieving, I like to put it as, it feels like you are grieving with the part. You're compassionate with yourself. And maybe it can also lead to you crying with the part. You're like, oh, I can so feel the sadness that you've been carrying for all these years, and it's touching me. And it opens me up, and I feel like I want to cry with you because I can feel your pain so much, and I'm here for you. And this is deeply touching. So it doesn't mean being happy and joyful all the time. Being connected to self can also mean, if you're angry, allowing the part to scream, allowing the part to punch a pillow or doing whatever. This is also like it's independent of the state that you're in. And that is incredibly freeing because it means we don't have to go anywhere. The parts don't need to change. We don't need to change necessarily. Change can be an outcome of the acceptance, but we are not coming here and being like, you should be different. It's quite the opposite, actually. And that is super freeing, super relieving, and changes a lot of things because we spend so much energy on wanting to change ourselves that we forget how much um, energy we give away through that and how much energy we can save by learning how to really accept ourselves on a deep level. So
Yes.
we've been talking a lot because obviously this is firing us up. I think both of us we love talking about it, and as you can hear, there's so much wisdom in it, and also these learnings. For me, it's so fun to repeat them. They have so many dimensions that we can dissect, and so many perspectives that we can step into and look at this work. And yeah, it's really fun to talk about it. Yet we want to get a bit more practical now, I think it's a good time, right?
Yes, for sure. Let's get juicy. I mean, the juiciness is not in the theory. The theory can just be another way to avoid feeling your emotions. As you probably all know, the brain gasms it gives you to listen to this podcast sometimes, or read a book, or have an insight on Instagram. But the real deal is happening outside of the yoga mat, outside of Instagram, outside of the books. It's in real life. It's meeting yourself. So let's meet ourselves now. So, Tim,
That's good.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
epic, right? So what we're going to do is I'm gonna give a session. I'm gonna hold space for Tim, and then we will just explore together, and you will see, you will get to know some of the tools that you can apply um, with yourself when being with yourself as well. This can be done as a self-investigation, even though sometimes it can be helpful to have another person with you, but you can make a lot of progress and do a lot of work on your own as well. And you can learn a lot from what we are doing here, like Tim said in the beginning. So
One
Tim,
one more thing, I invite the listeners to listen with their heart and I want you to feel into your body and into the resonance because I'm sure because these most of the parts that we're encountering are archetypal, which means if I have an issue with or if I am not an issue, but if I'm meeting a part in this session, there's a high chance that there's a similar part also active in you. And that's sort of the ear that I want you to listen with. Like, how is this resonating with me? And maybe even through Jannick, helping me through this process, you can get into your own process or at least get in touch with a part that is activated through what we're talking about here.
yeah, and both can happen. Either you say, wow, I have the same topic as Tim. Wow, yeah, yeah, I can learn so much. Or your system is like, I don't have this at all. Nothing. No, no, no. I don't have this. Either if you're in denial or if you're actually identifying a lot with the parts that Tim opens up to in the session. And so I invite you to follow along and always reflect on yourself during the process. And with that being said, Tim, is there any topic that you would like to work on today? Because this is another important point. There's different entry points into investigation, right? One is a current challenge that you have in your life. One could be a trigger, or if there's nothing present right now, we can also trigger you. There's ways to trigger you. It can be, it's very easy. It can be a memory. It can be bringing up a person like your mom or your dad, and that will trigger things in your body, and then you can work with that. So there's different entry points. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm asking Tim if there's anything he wants to bring to the table.
Mm. So I would be curious also, and I think that is a good match with value for everyone who's listening here. I would be curious to what happens when we take the state that I'm in this very moment, as an entry point. So, I have all sorts of stories about what's going on and what topics I have. But what I would be curious about is because I can definitely feel something steering also since a few days. And I would be curious to find out what happens if we detach from every story and just take the feeling as an entry point.
Yeah, I love that. That's my favorite way to do the work because we're not referring to any stories. We're just using what's here right now. And the body is talking to us every single moment of our life through sensations, through disease, through emotions, through thoughts. And so there's so much juice in the language that our body is using in this moment. So for that though, it's important to take a moment to connect with our bodies and not do this from our like active mind state of consciousness, but actually drop into the body before we ask the body. So I invite you, Tim, to now close your eyes if that feels right for you, and take a few deep breaths through your nose into your belly. Yeah, what Tim is doing well. He's also doing some sounding. Make sure to be close enough to the microphone, yeah, so that people can still hear you. And Tim is just connecting to his body, how it feels right now, bringing some awareness to his face, any areas that he can still let go and relax, bringing awareness to his neck and his shoulder areas, dropping the shoulders, letting loose. And then becoming aware of his throat. If there's any tightness, anytime the body wants to move in a certain way that feels good or natural, he's invited to do that, maybe with the jaw or the neck or whatever feels good. And then checking in with your chest, your heart area. How does your heart feel today? And really allowing and expanding all the sensations, becoming this infinite free space in which they are allowed to occur, giving them as much space and room as possible. And then moving with his awareness to the solar plexus area, and the belly, also expanding there, giving space to whatever wants to arise, inviting all parts of Tim in to be here with us if they want to. And then also connecting to his hips, relaxing his pelvic floor. And then taking another deep breath in through the nose, imagining you breathe in into your whole body and out. Now I'm going to ask Tim. Tim, is there anything present in your body right now that calls for your attention? Any contraction, maybe resistance that wants to be investigated today?
So I'm feeling tension in my neck and shoulders. That is, then the natural movement would be to look to the ground and make myself small, and makes me remember that I, have issues with back pain who were coming back recently, and this hunchback posture um, that I'm dealing with for a decade now, just present lately. And then there's a part that is coming, an energy that is coming from my feet and is rising up into actually through my whole body. And that feels like something like determination. The topics that I had lately were pretty existential. Like there was like existential fears
Mm.
coming up. And this determination right now it feels like marching forward. It feels like let's, let's tackle life, something like that. It's really energizing. And when I breathe into it, my posture is getting more upright. I feel almost brave or uh, king-like, elegant, something like that. It's very nurturing and feels very strong while also being fluid and um, yeah, fluid and uh, there's a lot of wisdom in that, but it feels masculine because it feels powerful. It's not like feminine. It's okay the way you are, and it's not like a mother holding me. It's more like a father that is looking into my eyes and saying, "Hey, Tim, you got this. You have the power in you to make the most out of your life. And I'm giving you this energy so you can feel that in your body and so you can have the power to not only overcome every challenge in your life right now, but to see them as a lesson that needs to be learned. Because actually, I'm letting go of a few things in my life now, and I'm letting go of things that were really annoying me for a long time. And we're like, oh, why do I have to do this? And now I'm letting go of them. And there's this feeling of, oh, fuck, they're not there. It's like financial things and business things. I'm letting go of them. It's like, oh, fuck, what is happening now? Like, I need the safety, I need the stability. And then this part comes in, this energy comes in that tells me, Tim, this is what you've been praying for. This is what you actually were wishing for. And use that gap that is opening up to um, create something out of that. So as you can hear, I can be quite autonomous with my parts.
Yeah.
And this interplay of the tension in my neck and this feeling of also tiredness and tension in my face and the energy in my body, it's interesting because the energy that I just spoke about almost it goes until here, like the middle of my chest, but it doesn't flow into the upper regions of my body, like my shoulders and my face and my head.
Mm. Yeah, so Tim is very skillful in exploring his parts, so he can already like self-navigate a lot. And at the same time, he gave us a lot of information there to explore further. So there's some tension and some pain in the neck and shoulder area. There's this rising determination energy coming from his feet into his whole body, being related to some father archetype that really tells him, you can do this, you got this, drive. And then there is this feeling of it not going all the way up, like kind of being stuck or not moving further up than the middle of his chest. So let's investigate that. So becoming aware of this border where the energy can rise higher. So becoming aware that this is a part of you that has something against this energy rising all the way up. And it might have a really good reason for that. And we are interested in getting to know that part.
New things coming up. Experience in my relationships that this life energy is, I have a hard time, some of my relationships, connecting to people. And that is the hard area, is to me the area of connection, of feeling myself, being vulnerable and being, feeling safe in relationships. And that's the first thing that came up. And the second is an image of a part that feels it's a feminine part, and it looks gray. It's almost like it's living in a like a really gray area, like a really poor gray area, and it sort of looks desperate and forgotten. And now that I say this, I can almost sense that everything that is below my heart right now is sort of the light side, like there everything is flourishing and stuff like that. And then there's this border, this wall, and there's the other side of my body where parts of me feel forgotten. So it's almost like there's two countries in my, or two places in my body that are separate, and the one is, full of energy, and the other is depleted and feels, and the part that lives there feels sort of betrayed, or like, why don't you take care of me? Something like that.
Yes. Okay, so there's these two parts of the body. One is flourishing, the other one feels a bit and what word did you use? It was kind of like left alone or
Depleted,
needed,
betrayed, left
betrayed.
alone, gray, lifeless.
Yes.
Yeah. Poor in terms of energy currency, so to speak. The lower part feels very, very rich in that regard, and this is just feels a bit depleted, forgotten.
Depleted and forgotten. And this is great that Tim is able to describe these things because that brings him closer to the experience. When we find words, we align the mind and the body and allow this part to come up and to be seen.
And it's interesting to me that the metaphor of money as energy comes in, because first of all, I was talking about business at first, and I had repeating dreams where the theme was either, everything costs money, or I have to give away money, or people are asking for money. This is a theme that is reoccurring in my dreams. And when I looked at these dreams, I felt like the money that was in these dreams was a symbol for energy, actually. And it's interesting that, I keep thinking that the lower part is rich, and the currency of energy is not flowing into my upper part, which could also be a symbol for the business struggles that I'm facing right now.
Okay. Yeah, so Tim is making a relationship there. It's good that he also has access to the information from his dreams, because that's the subconscious talking to him as well. And I want to check in for a moment. Do you feel in yourself a part that somehow wants to resolve this or wants to bring these parts together or has a mission right now to kind of resolve this? Can you feel this kind of energy that maybe even forcefully wants to unite or resolve these two parts? Or the other way around, is it totally fine that these two parts are separate right now?
When you asked the first question, I could definitely feel that I was blended with a part that, wanted to resolve this, who was like, yeah, we're having this we're having this session right now, and I will just resolve this. And when you asked the second question, then this part turned more into a curiosity of, okay, could be that it's resolving, but that's not the aim. The aim right now is to be open and curious and receptive to what wants to um, happen. So,
Great. Yeah, it's great that we became aware of this. So Tim was able to unblend from this part that wanted to resolve it, this coaching part that we sometimes have in ourselves that already knows what's going to happen, connecting again to curiosity and to not knowing.
yes, that feels really good. That feels feminine. Like I talked about this masculine energy, this striving and this, solution focused and this let's go, let's tackle life. And now that you said this, I was like, let's be receptive to the mystery. And then, something in my chest solar plexus area also, started to change, and I started to relax and take in the moment a bit more.
Yes, yes. Relaxing. The masculine can be determined and have a lot of energy. And at the same time, we want to relax with and into that masculine drive. Don't want it to stress us. We want to flow and dance with it. And now checking in again with this upper part of you. What has changed now in the upper part of your body that felt betrayed, left alone, a bit gray and depleted of energy?
I see this part wearing a um something like a crown, like a crown for queens, and it's lightful, like she's surrounded by light. And before that, the word trust came in, the word, and this feeling of trusting life as opposed to making things happen in life, like also trusting that things will be okay and that I don't, you know, that I don't need to force things, but maybe things will just be okay and I can receive that. And
Mm,
this part is also, she's like, don't talk so much, don't analyze so much. This is just about actually receiving. There's nothing to resolve here. She's when
mm,
I'm speaking and I'm trying to describe what's happening, she's like,
mm.
don't do that.
Yeah,
Just for now, just be with me.
yeah. So that seems like there's more trust and relaxation appearing in the system, receptiveness. And now, what happens with the relationship between your upper part and your lower part?
You asked that I noticed my breath becoming deeper, and I had this image of something like a light in the middle of my body, actually, and I saw my diaphragm, and then realized that the diaphragm is actually, you know, is something like a wall between the upper and lower body,
Mm.
and also that muscle which creates or maintains life, so to speak. So I'm breathing into that, and it feels like there's a flow of energy that is um, maintained or created. And at the same time, I feel tension in my hands, like that's where my attention is going next. Tension in my hands and in my feet and my ankles.
Okay, so tension arises in your hands, in your feet, and your ankles. So let's make space for that, meeting these tensions with curiosity, with this energy and attitude of you are welcome here. What is it that you want to tell me? And what do you feel currently towards this tension?
There's overwhelm and sadness. I saw an image of a part that is in a very stormy sea and screaming and like tumbling around in waves and getting thrown around by the waves.
Yes,
I feel some sadness in that also.
sadness and overwhelm.
Mm.
And this tension in the hands and ankles, those are parts that might be actively trying to get out of there. It's like this overwhelm, and then this like how do I navigate this? How do I get out of here? And then this sadness at the same time connected to the overwhelm.
Yes, and I noticed that I know I am familiar with this tension, but in this moment I feel like I am approaching it with an openness that I didn't have before. And I
Yeah.
notice how blended I was with trying to resolve this, or with something like there's a new essence of awareness that is now coming in that I'm approaching these tensions with.
Yes. So now with this openness, meeting this tension, how old do you think is this part that feels this tension?
I sensed into my ankles. I saw an image of a boy that is, I think, around, let's say, there's the numbers 7 and 14 coming in. It more looks like 7.
Mhm.
Most importantly, he's kicking something. He's like really angry and
Yes,
bitter, and he's like left alone. He's like a mix of sad and angry, something like betrayed or something like that. And he's kicking something.
yes. He feels betrayed and is sad and is angry and is kicking something.
Yeah, I can now my hip is starting to produce like there's a lot of energy in there in my I feel that there's a tremor coming in, like my upper body is slightly swaying left to right.
Yeah. Yeah, allow that tremor, allow that energy to rise. This might be related to anger. Allow this to come up, the frustration about the situation, about the overwhelm. And are you able right now to, as the grown-up Tim that you are, meet this 7-year-old boy that is angry and sad and kicking something?
Yes. The two parts, the feminine and the masculine part that I encountered earlier are coming online when you ask that, and they are willing to look at that. And it's like my shin and my ankle, like the muscle that is responsible for jumping on my right foot, like it's it's quite painful. Like it's I'm pretty fascinated with how much pain there actually is, or how much tension that I wasn't
Yes.
aware of. And yes, I'm ready to meet him.
Yes, that is the pain of the little boy that wants to express himself. So it's good that we meet him now and that the masculine and the feminine part give permission. It's always important that all parts give permission to meet this little boy. And is the little boy aware of you as the self, as the grown up Tim?
No, he's totally lost in his rage.
Yeah,
Like staring at the ground with like his eyes wide open and his body clenched, and he's has this right red color. Like I think he's even wearing red clothes. Like there's a lot of red in the scene.
yeah. Okay, so he's not aware of you. He is red and he is in his emotions. And what are those emotions that he feels right now?
Feels anger, sadness, and loneliness.
Anger, sadness, and loneliness. Yeah,
He's desperate. That's what resonates most. Like
desperate.
he yeah, and that makes him really sad actually, but he's also angry at someone, and it feels like that it's an anger that is more something didn't happen that he needed, as opposed to some he got punished or something. It's more like he was something didn't happen that he needed,
Yeah,
and that is making him angry. Like it's something like he wasn't seen or
yeah. He
accepted.
feels desperate about something that didn't happen. He wasn't seen. So that is natural that that would make a child angry. Maybe if sadness was the safer emotion, sad as well, but also really angry and frustrated and desperate. So is that desperation, is that related to a male or a female person or both?
There's no clear answer. He just says, "Why weren't you there for me?" and it
Yeah.
feels more like a generalized, feels more general, like
Maybe in
so
the
it's me.
world,
Maybe
other people.
yeah, maybe it's both.
Yeah. So let's see if we can allow this boy that is desperate, angry, sad, feels lonely, and says, "Why are you not there for me? Why weren't you there for me?" To meet yourself, to meet the grown up Tim that is here to listen to him, that wants to get to know him. Is he ready to see you? Maybe just from the distance, it can be in his own time.
Yeah, he's ready to see me, and there's this light starting to surround him, and he is like in like a bubble or a sphere or like an aura of this redness.
Mm,
And I can see his face very clearly, and he's looking into my eyes, and he's alternating between like openness, also like slight shock, but in a positive way. And oh no, he stopped alternating. It's almost like he's woken up from a dream, like, huh? And he's looking at me like innocently and surrounded by light.
yes. And now let this little 7-year-old boy know that he has all the right to be sad, to be angry, to feel lonely because of what happened to him. And you are not here to change any of that. He doesn't need to be a certain way.
You have all the right to be angry. You have all the right to be sad. And I want you to know that you can just be here as you are, and that I am interested in you. And I can see your innocence. And I can see that you really want something. And I'm here to give you what you want because I feel that you deserve that. You're welcome with me. Mm. My body sort of stopped tremoring, and there was like a slight relaxation or collapse. And it almost felt like in, this hunched over posture, I'm now looking down to that boy and speaking to him.
Mm.
And that's that's really fascinating. He's in me looking down to him. He has he's looking up to me, and there's a sentence or a hunch coming up of he's allowing himself also to be small, like
Mm.
and surrender into his littleness or into the fact that yeah, he's smaller than me and I'm looking down to him, and that's not a problem, that's not a threat. It's more like, okay, yeah, I'm actually small, and that's my role, something like that.
Yeah. And how does it feel in his body to feel small?
Sort of a full circle thing. He says he can. Smallness means surrendering to him. He says, I can surrender. So I feel safe and I feel held. in my smallness. Yeah, something like that. There's a part of me who is commenting with things like, yeah, it makes total sense. Who wants to analyze and feel that at this moment it's not about that. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I understand you. It's more about maybe letting the feminine, I want to let the feminine really touch him and be like, yes, you are held. You can allow yourself to be small and you can allow yourself to be protected by someone else. You don't have to protect yourself. If someone's making you angry, if something is making you angry, then I'm here to witness that. And I'm here to support you. You don't have to do this on your own. You can surrender into me.
Yes. And now, with that permission to surrender, you can turn towards that boy again. And this might be out of the comfort zone, but even give permission to that and ask the boy, is there anything that you would like to express to me now that you have the permission to be whatever you want to be, feel whatever you want to feel?
He said, I just want to play. And he's actually playing
Yeah,
on the ground and with a little toy train. And then there was something, it felt like a protective shield around him. And I learned a few months ago that there's a reason why playgrounds have fences around them. It's to give the child a certain space or limitations of that they can express themselves in. And now it feels like there's not a masculine fence. It's more like an embrace that doesn't necessarily give the child structure, but nourishes the child emotionally. And that's sort of added into the mix. So he doesn't just feel protected, he actually feels nurtured as well. And now I'm burping as I say this.
yeah.
Good sign.
Burping can be a sign of release.
And the pain in my, yeah, like the tension in my neck is significantly less.
Hmm.
This kicking sensation or this feeling. I also have restless leg syndrome, by the way, which was
Yeah,
very active before we went into the session. Now my legs are really relaxed and I can feel them also, like they feel like they're a part of my body. And this tension that was there has passed for the most part.
yeah. So
And it feels like, yeah,
he feels nurtured.
yeah. And also like a good, ending point for I want to check in with the part and because that's how I honor the parts. I ask them if they are okay with this interaction ending now.
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, yeah, it's okay. I'm just playing here. Um, and then checking with and these masculine and feminine energies tell me that they are with me anyways. Like this is not ending necessarily. They function more like guides who do their thing sort of all the time. And they are also okay with the session itself ending.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. That's a beautiful way to end, is to check in with the parts, see if they need anything. So that's what Tim already did naturally. And what I love to do in the end of a session is also to give permission to that feeling, that nurturing feeling, to really connect to that sensation in the body. How does it feel to feel nurtured? Because Tim knows that because he can feel it in his own body. Even though that's coming from the little boy, Tim can feel the nurturing in his own body. So I love to connect with that as a resource in the end of a session and really allow this to expand into the whole body, this feeling of being nurtured and now having permission to play and feel safe.
Yes, yes, and that's a beautiful full circle as I'm coming out of this on a more on a more
Mental?
integrated afterthought kind of thing is that with especially with business and with pursuing certain things, there's a tendency to do a lot, which is the polarity is swinging a lot towards hustling and getting shit done and things like this. And a part, I'm okay with that. But now I really saw that play is so important with that because that's where more divinely inspired, or a less spiritual word would be really authentic ideas can
Creative.
flow, and to be receptive towards that. And that was, that's now that I'm integrating the session and referring back to the topic that I had. That's super. That's what I would say is we talked about the two tensions and the third thing emerging. That's to me the insight that I didn't have before. Obviously, I've been meeting the part and it was beautiful and I feel relaxation in my body. I have unlocked the part, I can contact him. And there's this insight of, wait a second, it's it's time now to be more receptive and invite this part more in. And what is emerging from that is a way of working that is aligned with my values, that is, has this deep inspiration, this divinely inspired mission also. There's like a different sense of purpose behind that because I'm not only just working for the sake of getting shit done. There's like a like a little like a bit of a more sacred mission in that, if that makes sense. It's like I'm here not to get shit done. I'm here to connect with divinity and let it flow through me, like to put it in spiritual terms. Or I'm here to manifest my creativity as best as I can and to be receptive towards that. And that feels amazing. That feels very like a very integrated thing.
Yeah, beautiful. It's like, it's great to take a moment to acknowledge what just happened there. I mean, this is big. It can happen in these sessions. Let's not just like go over it like that. It's really a part coming online and a new realization being created. Like we said in the beginning, from a conflict of two seemingly opposites, we create a new creative perspective. And so this playfulness also connects you to real creativity. Like all the great masters in their art had this connection. We're talking about this connection. Even people in the mental field, like Einstein, said the ideas came to him. He didn't have the ideas. And this is what happens when you open up to something bigger than you, that and you allow it in. This is not coming from force, and of course not from pure surrender either, because there has to be some kind of intention
Yes,
behind it
exactly.
as well.
Mm. Yeah, it's this wasn't about deeming this more masculine approach negative. It's more adding something more to it. It's like an alchemical reaction
Very
that takes place, and then a third substance is formed. is formed out of that. And that's actually also in a Jungian sense what alchemy really is. You have the prima materia, the basic essence that which can be a complex or a conflict that you have, and then you transform that through adding adding another essence to that, and what is emerging out of that is um, yeah is something new, is something life-giving, and I that's to some degree what happened just now, and I can feel that in my like the I can really tell the difference to me. Like I'm not wearing my glasses right now, and when I was opening my eyes, I saw everything so clearly that I for a second questioned if I need my glasses anymore, because my perception was so much clearer. I felt so much feel also right now. I feel so much more present and sharp and just relaxed, like just the urgency and this urgent drive is not less, like the drive is still there, but the urgency turned more into a yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, a relaxed
Yeah.
urgency drive. Yeah, that's great. And what happens on a nervous system level right now, of course, is that his nervous system is more regulated, is more in the green zone, in the rest and digest. But how did we get there? We didn't get there through relaxation techniques without looking at the actual root cause of the dysregulation. We went through the cause of the dysregulation and came back to a more relaxed state of the nervous system. This is a huge difference. And this is a misunderstanding often in spirituality, as we need to meditate these things away or do some box breathing. These tools are great as a start to get into a state where we are open enough to investigate. But we always want to investigate. We want to move through the triggers. We want to meet the difficult emotions. We want to meet the unconscious, meet the uncomfortable, lean into the discomfort. Then you know that something new is happening and not looping, constantly from I feel deregulated, dysregulated. I need to calm down again. I feel dysregulated. I need to calm down again. And that's not the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for that. And um I'm really like I'm genuinely curious about, I think I said that in one of the processes we've had before, if there's how the resonance is for everyone who's listening. Like if this was also nourishing to you, if this has unlocked something inside of you, if you were listening and you were just interested, if you had the urge to just, skip the episode because it was boring to you or whatever. I'm really curious as to how yeah, you guys experienced this process, and also if you want to see more of that, because we all love doing this work, and I think it's a good combo to educate, but then also to walk the talk and not just, get into the head, but actually show ourselves vulnerable and hold each other and be a good example also for the people who are listening here. So I think I speak for Jannick and Ashley as well. We are very curious about feedback, because it gives us an X on the map where we are and where we want to go with this podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. And if there were things that you could relate with there as well, like these archetypal things that Tim mentioned in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always interesting for us to know. Yeah, and thank you, Tim, for showing up so vulnerably and honestly and meeting your parts there very bravely as well. I mean, that's always a great example, and people being able to get inspired by that. That's a nice way.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you. So I would say that's a good way of ending the episode. Next week, Ashley still is not going to be around. She's having a retreat. Ashley's retreats are amazing. they're basically what we are doing here, or what we've done here in this episode, times 100. She's doing anger work. It's really intense, and the intensity is held by by feminine and masculine softness. And yeah, we really recommend you to check her work out. And like I said, next week it will be another episode with Jannick and me, potentially with a special guest. We are looking into that now. But yeah, Jannick, do you have any last words for this episode?
Let me check in. I just want to say, do the work. Don't just listen. Like, actually sit down, take 10 minutes, take 15 minutes, whatever it is you have, and start looking inside, start looking at your parts, start listening to them. Use the questions, use the techniques that you learned here, and do it. And it is the best thing that you can do for yourself, for your health, actually. It's emotional health is so important, next to sleep and good nutrition. It's probably the most important thing. So do yourself a favor, especially if you value your health, meet your parts, sit with your parts, and learn to meet them with compassion. It's one of the best things you can do for yourself.
Yes, yes. And to add to that on a final note, I could have gone to a yoga class with my back. I could have done stretches all day to get rid of the tension. I could have gone into the gym and lift heavy weights in order to improve my posture, and I will still do these things. But there was an underlying emotional relation to that. And just like Yannick said, doing the work means, questioning one level deeper and questioning, okay, what's really going on here? And humbly ask the body, ask the subconscious these questions and see what is coming up. And we hope that with the process that we've guided, you sort of get a feeling for how this works, for how to receive the wisdom of the body, the nervous system, and the full spectrum of what makes you human. And yeah, with that, we hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're on Spotify, rate the podcast, rate it 5 stars. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, and as we said, share your thoughts in the comments. It's really, really valuable to us to hear what you want to hear more of and how the episodes resonate with you. And yeah, with that, we're saying goodbye for today. It was fun. Thank you, Yannick.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for listening.
See
Goodbye.
you next time. Bye.